Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network, where we currently have 29 live broadcasts each and every week. Our show today is Aging Gracefully with Humor. And we have a fabulous topic that's so relevant as we become seasoned citizens. What happens with all of our stuff? How do we downsize? And when we leave this great earth, what happens with our possessions? And what can our loved ones do to help maybe repurpose those items? So let's welcome the star of our show, CATHY Fulton. CATHY, welcome.
Good morning.
Hello, nice to see you again. How are you today after Woman's Prerogative last night?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I'm really excited for this topic because it's just so relevant for all of us.
Yeah, it really is. And I met Bryan when I was pretty much in a crisis. And so anyway, I think that the viewers this morning will gain a lot of information from him.
Outstanding. Well, I'm looking forward to bringing him out. Before we do, CATHY, please share with our audience, for people who are joining us for the first time, whether it's on TV, radio, later on a podcast, what is your connection with Aging Gracefully with Humor, aside from being a human being as we all age? Tell us more about the work that you do in this area.
So I own a home care agency, and it's a home care agency for the elderly. And probably the primary focus of our business is we provide live-in caregivers. And this is for people that do not want to have to sell their home and move into assisted living. They want to age in place. And so the impetus of this business was started because my mom had 2 strokes back to back in 2010. And I was looking for help, looking for a way to, figure all this out. Because, that's usually when things really get tough, is when, you're just kind of blindsided with an issue. And so anyway, long story short, I had a very difficult time connecting with home care agencies that could help me with care for my mom. And so I got very frustrated, and I ended up really doing it all by myself. And I thought, after I did this for a while, I was like, you know what, I know what people want. So I'm just going to go ahead and get licensed and start my own business. And so that was, I don't know, I think we've been in business for about 9 years now. So that's my connection.
Well, congratulations. I've said this to you before. I love the fact that when you're not getting the information you need, or it's not working out the way you thought, you just go in there and say, you know what, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to start my own agency. And I know you've done that in a number of aspects in your life. I think that's really amazing.
Well, well, thanks, but it's, I don't know. I just get, maybe I get too easily annoyed. I don't know. But in this instance, I really felt like I have a huge point of reference, and I know what people want, and I know what they need. Kind of like when people are looking for childcare for their children. I don't have children, so it's very hard for me to relate to that. And so it's been a huge vantage point for me in this industry, because I tell people, that I live this every day, and that I'm still taking care of my mom, she'll be 92 in February. And you can just tell, it's like the wall goes down. It's like, oh, so you really do get it. And I'm like, yeah, I live this every single day, and I can appreciate what you're going through. And so anyway, it's helped in many respects.
Well, as always, thank you so much for sharing your transparency and just making yourself so relatable to people. That really is wonderful that you are just so candid about what's going on in your life that we can relate to it. So thank you for that.
I don't have time to beat around the bush.
Well, you've brought a wonderful guest here, Bryan McDaniel, and he is a business owner and entrepreneur. His business is Easy Downsizing. And we're going to speak to him about what happens with our possessions, maybe as we go into that final chapter of our life, or maybe we've passed away, or we're caring for someone else, or there's an estate. So let's bring out Bryan McDaniel, who's joining us from Sterling, Virginia, in the United States. Hi, Bryan. How are you?
Hey, great. Hi, Jacqueline. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Bryan.
It's so nice to have you here. And as we mentioned a couple of times, that what you're doing is so important. I think sometimes we take this for granted, and then all of a sudden a loved one passes away and we've got to go through their home and through all their stuff. And what are we going to do? And people start arguing over it. How much is this worth? We don't know what to do. So you mentioned backstage that you changed careers and that you've now found your passion, and you seem really happy. So tell us about this journey.
Sure. I've been selling stuff forever. It's probably since the early 80s. I'm a Marine. I'm a retired Marine. I joined the Marines in 1980. And because I was broke, I didn't have a lot of money, a lot of entertainment, not much to do, but going to an auction was free. So I would sit there and I'd watch them sell stuff. And the auctioneer said, "Hey, do you want to work here?" And I said, "Yes, I do." So I became like the Vanna. I would hold up stuff and the auctioneer would do his, fast talking and that sort of thing. But I'm still in the Marines at the time. So the Marines were my full-time job, but I just kind of grown a passion with stuff and other people's stuff in particular. And when I moved to Virginia Beach and opened up my own auction, opened up my own antique store in 86, 87, around there. And then I got transferred. I had to sell it. And I stayed pretty busy in the Marines for a while, but found eBay in the mid 90s. And this was before eBay even hosted pictures. You had to get your pictures hosted by a third-party agency if you wanted to sell stuff on eBay. This before PayPal. So if you wanted to sell something, you also had to wait for someone to send you a check. Then you had to wait for the check to cash. Then you had to wait for the check to clear before you send them their stuff. So it wasn't like Amazon where it showed up on your porch the next day. It took a while. So when I retired from the Marines, I worked for a tech company, worked for SAIC for about 8 years, then transitioned to work for the government for a little while. And it wasn't my thing. I love the people that I work with, but it just wasn't my passion. So stopped that job and went full time into the selling other people's stuff business. Started out as an auctioneer. Talking fast, had my building. Then I bought an estate sale company. So we did both of that. I auctioned things at a facility. And then we would go to people's houses and put stuff, put price tags on things and basically turn their home into a thrift store, right? Let people shop it for a few days. And then I finally got to the point where, the best way to do this is not the live auction. It's not to put price tags on things and let people, shop a house. It's putting things on the internet and selling online. So that's what we do now full time. We're an online estate sale auction company.
Wow, that's quite a journey.
Thank you.
And I love that each part of the way you learn something new and brought it all together. At one point, I had a store on eBay. I was running 60 auctions a week. And I'm just thinking how daunting that was. So especially with what you're doing, all those pictures, how many pictures do you have to take of each item?
Oh, it depends. If it's it's a sealed CD of Game of Thrones, one, because everybody knows what that is, right? I mean, that's not hard to describe. But when you get something, you get a nice piece of jewelry, you get a Rolex watch, you get a car, sometimes you want to take, it could be 20 or 100 pictures, just depending on what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm looking at all the beautiful items you have behind you. And if you were to list any one of those, you might have to really do a great description and a lot of pictures, right?
Exactly. Because when you're buying things online, all you have to go by is that photo and in that description. So we're very visual. So people don't do a lot of reading. They do a lot of looking when it comes to making purchases.
So tell us about the first time when people connect with you. Is it kind of like when Kathy was talking about a different situation, but she really needed somebody? She needed so somebody's reaching out to you and they're kind of really desperate or in need. What is that
Yeah.
conversation like?
Oh, and it happens all the time. And people don't know what they don't know, obviously. And it's usually like, hey, I think I need to have an estate sale. They don't even know if that's a good fit for them. And they say, I've never done this before. And they never have usually, maybe someone does that maybe once or twice in a lifetime. So we gather a little bit of information for them over the phone to find out if an estate sale is a good fit, meaning when we say estate sale, sale out of their home. And sometimes they only have 10 items. Well, that's not a good fit for us to sell 10 items of theirs. They can do a Facebook marketplace or maybe consign them to a place that would be willing to accept those items, but not necessarily have a traditional estate sale. So if we find out that, they got a whole house full of, Aunt Jenny passed away, they're the executor of the estate, and the family's taken the items that they want, and they just need to get the house empty so they can move on to whatever that next step is with the property, turn it back over to the landlord, or maybe even put it on the market and sell it. So our first step is an initial consultation. We'll actually go out, meet with them face to face. We'll take a look at what they have, and I'll tell them over the phone, if I like you and you like me and I like your stuff, we'll get something on the calendar and take care of it for you.
Wonderful. I have one more question, and I'll go over to you, Kathy. Sorry. So my next question is, when you think about what would make or qualify as an estate, is it a certain value that you put on in terms of, maybe there's 6 items, but it's worth millions of dollars, or does it have to be a certain number of items? How do you define that?
Well, for an estate sale, it's a combination of both, Jacqueline. It'd be a matter of what we'll say volume and value. So, if you're selling the Mona Lisa, which I've not had that opportunity yet, but I mean, that wouldn't really qualify as an estate sale, right? I mean, it's worth millions of dollars, but you wouldn't say, hey, we're going to have an estate sale. We have 1 item for sale, or even 2 or 3 or 5 or 50 doesn't make for a good estate sale oftentimes. Because if you're selling out of a home, people are going to come there. They're going to, shop, pick stuff up, even if it's online. So when we sell things online, what's kind of great about this process is we take a picture of everything in the house. And we don't do a lot of shipping. We ship maybe 1% of the items that we sell, but we have bidding all over the United States. So when we put it online and people buy a couch, for instance, they know they got to go there. They know they need to pick it up on a certain day. And what they'll end up doing is they'll like, you know what, since I got to go there, I'll buy a garden hose. I'll buy some Windex, that they may have for sale, or people tend to buy multiple things when they show up. So if you got 20 or 30 things you're selling, it's just not going to create a lot of interest, I would say. So it's a volume and value type thing.
Thanks so much for explaining that. I love that you can buy the Windex and the garden hose as well. It all has to go, right?
It absolutely has to go. And that's the service that we want to provide. I mean, we want to sell everything that's in the house. The family doesn't want to have to deal with it, because if it doesn't sell, there's an added expense in just getting rid of it. So, we want to make sure that everything sells. And we typically sell, very proud to say, 98% of the things that we list. So if we're selling a house that's got 400 items, typically there's going to be about 8 that don't sell.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bryan, when I contacted you, well, first of all, I think you sold everything.
We did.
Yeah, everything that I brought you sold. And so when I contacted Bryan, I mean, I didn't know where to start, because I was so overwhelmed with my set of circumstances, because I mean, my mom, we had packed everything, all of her stuff, and we were sending her to Texas. I mean, that's where she wanted to go. And then at the 12th hour, not even 11th hour, you know, maybe 1 minute left on the clock, she changed the game and decided that she was going to stay. And so everything had been packed up in U boxes because that was going to be the least expensive way to get all of her things to Texas, because that was like full-fledged pandemic. Everybody was rolling out of California, moving to Texas, moving to Florida. Just the transportation expenses were astronomical. And so I had all these U boxes. I had just moved into a new house. I didn't have space for her stuff because I didn't know she was going to be there with me. And so I'm thinking, okay, so these things are in storage. The clock is ticking. You know, every month that I have these, I'm paying for it. I mean, it's just, it was almost suffocating overwhelm. And so then I got on the internet and I started trying to get in touch with people such as Bryan. Had no idea what to expect, really what even to ask. Got in touch with a few people. Then they never returned my call, like as a follow-up in order to move forward. And so then that created more anxiety for me, because I'm thinking, okay, so they'll take the first call. What happens if I just deliver all of my stuff, which in my mom's case was just massive? So I dump all of my stuff off and then I never hear from you again. Meanwhile, so you see where my mind was going. Okay, so then you're selling it. I don't get the proceeds. I mean, so then finally, Bryan and I connected and he followed up. I mean, you know, we talked for a while, told me where he was located. And I mean, he was awesome. He's a fantastic communicator. I mean, like I'm a very early riser. And so I'm sure some of my emails were the first in his inbox every morning, and he would get right back to me. And my emails were like, my mom was asking things about, oh, what about this piece? What about that piece? And I'm thinking, Bryan has it and maybe he's going to sell it. Well, there's a part in the agreement that says that, you know, once we have your stuff, we have your stuff. You know, you can't call. We're not going to dig through it, and understandably so. But I would call him like in tears. I don't know how many times I cried all over you. I mean, you know, it's like every time I went by to pick up something that he would dig up and say, you know, here, you know, you can have it back. I mean, look, if he would have said, look, it's our policy, we just can't dig through all your stuff. And I would have said, I get it. I would not have been angry at all. But I mean, they went over and above. And, you know, I also remember telling him while I'm, you know, crying, going, you know, you're just not supposed to get rid of someone's things while they're still alive. Because, you know, like I looked at this, I remembered this stuff, you know, how my mom would save her garage sale money and then buy a piece of furniture that she still had. And now we're at that point where we don't have anywhere to put it. You know, the cost of storing it is going to be, I mean, we could buy all new stuff by the time we pay all the storage fees. And it was just, I would never get rid of anyone's things for all the money in the world. But it's just, I was just so, I couldn't turn left. I couldn't turn right. I mean, and any decision that I made was going to be unpopular. It was not going to be the right answer for anyone, particularly my mom. But I mean, she kept telling me, we have to get rid of this. You know, the cost to keep this would be ridiculous. But I had legal documents drawn up on this because I didn't want her to whip her head around and go, you know, I never said that. We never had that conversation. And I didn't agree to get rid of my things. I mean, I just, you know, because I just, being in my position is a very precarious position. You're never right. I mean, you're fighting a losing battle 95% of the time. And so, you know, I'm just singing your praises, Bryan, because I mean, you're a great communicator. I felt very comfortable leaving all of things because I didn't know what you're going to do. I mean, I mean, really think about how vulnerable a person is. I mean, so and like I said, you dealt with an inordinate amount of stuff, and he processed everything beautifully. I mean, amazing job. And you have a lot of potential customers that call me all the time. One lady, it was a few weeks ago, and I was on vacation, and I was trying desperately not to take any phone calls, and I answered the phone, and so she said who she was, and she was going on and on and on. And I'm like, look, you cannot find anyone better. A, B, just sign with him today. He will do everything that he said he's going to do. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just can't talk to you anymore because my husband's getting really angry with me because I promised that I just wasn't going to do this. And so I'm like, she really wanted to talk, but I'm like, you just need to go with him. You just need to go with him. So
Bryan, it sounds like you're part-time therapist as well.
He was with me.
Kathy was she's in a tough situation, and she's in the middle. And like she said, whatever she does isn't going to be right, and it's hard because when people are selling stuff, it's memories, they're selling memories. It's not like, hey, I need to sell my couch. It's like, I'm going to sell the couch that me and my husband bought. We didn't have any money. My kids, slept on this couch. They played on this couch. I mean, that means something to them. And I will tell you that Kathy's mother had absolutely gorgeous things. I mean, Kathy sent me some pictures of her mom's house, and I was like, holy cannoli. I mean, it was absolutely fabulous. So what a service we also offer, JACALYN, which I haven't mentioned, is we do have a warehouse in Sterling. So when someone can't have an estate sale, Kathy's mom's stuff was in, I don't know how many pods or you
13.
It was. 13?
13, just 13.
Just 13 of these, okay? So we obviously can't do an estate sale out of 13 containers. That's not going to work out very well. So she brought them she had them delivered to our facility here in Sterling, and we kind of whittled away with them a little bit at a time. And I said, Kathy, we can't sell all of these in one auction. There was just a significant volume of items. And when Kathy's talking about our policy about pulling things back, we're an online auction company. So what we'll do is we'll take pictures of things, we put it online, and what will happen often is people will bid on these things. It'll get up to like the last day, and the family will call and say, hey, that chair that's, up to $400 now, can we take that off the auction? And that's a tough decision for me to make. I want them to have the chair. I don't really care about the money that much. But there's also people who are participating in this auction and may not just be bidding on that chair. They might be bidding on 10 things. But when this chair all of a sudden disappears, they think the way that I think. And there's a lot of companies out there that are not totally above board. And what'll happen getting towards the end of the auction, they may think that, hey, this price isn't high enough for these people, so they're just going to not let me buy it now. So, which is not the case at all. So that's why we discourage people removing things. But I don't think, Kathy, there was one thing that we had like put on the auction that was like a current active auction item that you said, hey, can I get that back? So that wasn't a problem at all. She would say to me, hey, when you get to this, is it okay if I pick it up? And it's like, absolutely. It's your stuff. It's your mom's stuff. So you can absolutely have it back.
Well, you made the very good point of what you just said about you're selling emotion. And I mean, you really sewed it up very nicely, because that's what I felt, because I mean, my mom had collected all this stuff since I was a kid. I mean, I remember, do you remember that it was this huge, she always called it a sideboard. I mean, it was massive. You remember it?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. She bought that when we lived in Houston, Texas, and I was 5 years old, I remember that being delivered. I remember going, oh my God. I mean, this thing is, but I mean, I I mean, you just did an amazing job. And, like the other thing, if there are other people out there that are in very difficult set of circumstances, I mean, before I could have all of those U boxes sent over to you, and I said that there were 13, there were 13. And do you know what I had to do? We had to sit at U-Haul. I had to sit with my mom, and I had to personally pull everything out of there and ask her, does it stay or does it go? You know, do you know how hard that, I mean, lifting all that stuff myself,
There's
I
a lot.
mean, oh my gosh, so I will stop, but I cannot sing your praises enough. I really can't.
Why? Thanks. There was a situation we were in recently where the owner was actually, I don't want to say hospitalized, but certainly not available to kind of look through her stuff. And the family asked me, is there any way that she can see her stuff? And I said, what I'll do is, I said, we'll take pictures of everything. You give it to your mom and kind of let your mom kind of go through her, her iPad, whatever it is she uses. And if those, she wants those items, then we'll absolutely, not include them in the sale. Because again, I mean, she couldn't come, she couldn't look through her stuff. But the family, like you, Kathy, just wanted to make sure that, someone's not going to have seller's remorse, we'll say, they got rid of something that was very important to them. And a lot of times it's not the valuable items. Sometimes people just have, a figurine or a purse, or, a small piece of furniture that is important to them, which is like, it's not a valuable item, but it's valuable to them. And we see that all the time. And when I go into people's homes, sometimes they'll point out to me, like, this chair is like the most special chair in the whole wide world. Well, you know what? It might be a $5 chair, but I will tell you, when I list it on my auction site, it's going to sound like, it's Queen Elizabeth's throne. So when these people see that, they can see that, we listen to them, and, we want to make sure that their stuff gets, the recognition that it does. We're not going to over embellish it, and we're not going to, try to make it into something that it's not, but we're certainly going to give it the attention that they need. And they can have a Rolex watch that they don't care about, but this chair to them is important. And they just want to make sure when they see it on there for sale that, it gets correct billing. So we see that often.
Wow, it's such an interesting discussion. Bryan, something that just popped into my head when you mentioned Rolex and also handbags. Do you have the ability to authenticate that something is actually the real deal? It's definitely a Rolex. It's definitely a Prada bag, for example.
For the most part, Jacqueline. Now, if you ever watch Pawn Stars, they say, hey, we're going to call in our expert here, because I don't know everything. I'm an appraiser, and I've been doing this forever. And I will tell you, if you pick up a Louis Vuitton purse, a lot, if it's real, you can tell. If it's fake, sometimes there are some really good fakes out there. So, there are tools and there's online resources and stuff that we use. But I'm not the guy. I have some experts who I'll call in, baseball cards, for instance. I mean, I know enough about them to know that I don't know enough. So I don't want to make that, $1 million mistake or something. So we'll call in the people. And what's great about our process, Jacqueline, is when we go into a house, we take a picture of everything in their home. Everything. And when I say, we will sell a half bottle of Windex, which is, sounds comical, but it's the truth. We'll put it with some other cleaning supplies, and we're going to sell that. So the only things we're not going to sell are things that are illegal to sell, things that may be offensive. We don't want to offend anybody, and things that maybe we say embarrassing. So those are the things we're not going to put on the site to sell. And what's great about this is because it's on the internet, everybody is out there shopping. And if they type in Louis Vuitton purse, for instance, you can find it on our site. And the people that are shopping these things, they kind of know more about it than I do. And they establish what they think that value is going to be. So like a figurine behind me here, which may not be, great, or maybe it could be, but the people online tend to know what it is more than me. If I take a Mickey Mantle baseball card and I put it on there, the people that are actually bidding on it, that are looking for it, they're going to establish what that price is, and they're going to understand exactly what it is. So what I like about our process, better than a traditional estate sale, is the people that are selling stuff in an estate sale, who are, I give them a lot of credit. They're all very educated. For the most part, they're all very experienced, but they don't know everything. And I love to go to estate sales and play, I'll bet you I know more than you do, because I will go in there and I have bought things for $1 that I've sold on eBay for $600 or $700 just because they don't know what they're selling. And it happens all the time. Or sometimes they overprice things. They may think that this thing is worth $600 or $700, but it's not. And then at the end of the day, it doesn't sell. So what do you do with that stuff that doesn't sell at the end of an estate sale? Again, we talked about it earlier. There's an expense to just get rid of that stuff. Plus you're losing money because that item didn't sell.
Yeah, they're really good points. I'll just share, I had a garage sale once or twice in my life, and there's like professional people. They're like hawks. They're like, oh, I'll take this for $1. And then you hear them whisper, yeah, this is a blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, wow, what is that? I thought it was a pen. It's a pen. But anyway, there are people who really know what they're doing. So a question I have for you is, let's say you have a situation where the executor just wants to get rid of everything. They just want to liquidate it. It's not even about the money. It's just getting rid of the stuff so that they can close up. Can they say to you, hey, take all of this. I'm willing to give it for X dollars. I don't even care what it sells for in the auction. Do you do that, or it all has to be item by item sold in the auction?
What you're talking about is called a buyout, where they just come in. It's like, hey, just give me $2,000 and make it go away. We don't do that because a lot of that stuff would just end up in a landfill somewhere. I mean, if you're talking about cleaning out a whole house, there's probably, for the most part, there's more expense in like emptying the house than there is in value of the things that they're trying to get rid of. So I do know people who will do a buyout, and a lot of times they'll go do a buyout and they'll say, I'm not going to give you any money, but I'll empty out the house, which means they're going to take all the cleaning supplies and the empty cans of paint and, the stuff that, all the clothes and all the shoes that really don't have a lot of value. And maybe you got a basement full of stuff that's just been down there forever. To empty that stuff out is costly. So there are people that will go in and do a buyout. It's not something that we'll do. I'll go in there and I'll say, I don't want to do a buyout because I don't want to remove all this stuff and throw half of it in a landfill, but I could say, hey, I can take these 25 items right here and, you'll give you a check for, a few $1,000s. So I don't mind, we'll call cherry picking items, but as far as like buying a whole house full of stuff, it's not a service that we provide. And it's not, I get that they just want to sell the house and get the stuff out of there. But I like to keep things out of a landfill. And when we sell the property out of a home, and I tell people, this is going to sound terrifying, and Kathy knows, everything starts at $1. It doesn't matter if it's a Rolex watch or a car or some linens. Everything starts at $1, and it gets sold to the highest bidder at the end of the day, and which is why we sell so many items. So when we're done, there isn't anything left in the house to clean out or remove. And when people say, can you remove everything that's left? I said, there's not going to be a lot left. And it's a service that we provide, meaning I will call, the 123 junk people or whoever it may be and arrange for them to come and get what's left. But that's not something that we provide. And honestly, the last few times that they've asked us, I had to cancel them because there wasn't enough stuff to justify them coming out and taking what was left. It just all got sold. Because again, everything starts at $1. So it all goes away at the end.
Wow, that's exciting. You know, when you were talking, I was thinking about the garage, the dreaded garage. How much stuff ends up in a garage? It's just like, to your point about paint cans, rusted tool, all these things that it's like, who's going to take it? What are you going to do with it? So I have pulled up your website. Would you like me to share that and walk us through it?
Sure, please.
Perfect. All right. So let me just share my screen. All right, so I'm over here on the website. Tell me where I should go.
All right, so this is what we say is our marketing site. So if someone's looking to find us, they're going to come here and it's going to say, I want to do a sale. So this kind of gives us some information. And what I do on here, Jacqueline, is if you click on tips and facts, I mean, these are great questions. And I put them on there for people to ask estate sale companies when they're considering hiring an estate sale company, because you know, as a professional yourself, you've probably been asked the question, what question should I ask you that I haven't already asked you, right? Because people don't even know the questions to ask. So I put these tips on here for people who are considering hiring an estate sale company. You know, shop around is one. You know, don't go with the first person you talk to unless they're referred to by Kathy, because she knows what she's talking about, right? You know, get a contract to look at before, you know, the estate sale company shows up. Some of them don't even have contracts. They're going to come in, they're going to say, hey, we'll sell your stuff and, you know, we'll give you 30% and we'll do it on a handshake and we only accept cash. So probably the wrong person. You know, ask them, what do they do with the items that don't sell? Because if you do a traditional estate sale, and this is the way a lot of traditional estate sale contracts read. And when we say traditional, this is where we're going to let people shop the house. It's like, we're going to come to the house, we're going to price everything. On the first day, we're not going to go down at all. The second day, we're going to go down 25%. Last day, we're going to go down to 50%. And what doesn't sell, we remove. And people go, that's awesome. That's exactly what I want. But consider, what if they put, and I'll use a Rolex as an example. What if they put $10,000 on the Rolex, the last day it goes down to $5,000 and it doesn't sell? Well, their contract says they're going to remove it, you know, so they're keeping it. So there's almost a conflict of interest for them to sell everything, because if it doesn't sell, they're going to remove it. You know, they say they're going to donate it, which they may donate a lot of things, but you really don't have complete visibility of what happens to items that don't sell during a traditional estate sale. So asking them what happens to these items is a good question. And we talked about the clean out service at the end of the sale. You know, do you take everything that's left? If you want to scroll down a little bit more, there might be some more questions on there. There you go. You know, what is your commission is a good one. You know, how much do you charge to do a sale? And we charge 40%. And people go, oh, that's high, you know? And I said, it is. And, you know, there's companies that will do it for less, and I can give you their name, but it doesn't mean that they're going to end up with more money at the end of the day. And, you know, Mark Cuban, who, you know, he's on Shark Tank, he's often said to people, would you rather have, you know, 70% of a grape or 60% of a watermelon? You know? So it's the commission is not always, shouldn't be the deciding factor there. It's like, how much is going to end up in their pocket at the end of the day, right? Which is important. Go ahead, Kathy.
Can I make a point? Yeah.
Please.
You know, I mean, I remember looking at that and thinking, okay, so at face value, that's a high number. But then as you get into it and, you know, I'm sitting there weighing, okay, what's important to me? Okay. So then, first of all, I began to see the enormous amount of work that I was delving into. And then, you know, my next thought was, this is everything that his people are going to have to do, which was, you know, an enormous job in itself. And so, you know, right there, I was like, it's fine. It's fine. Just because I knew what your people were going to have to go through, and you were going to have to go through. But another, I mean, a huge, huge part of all of this for me was that I trusted you. And so I was willing to pay somebody that I trusted. And that's what it got down for me, because this was such an emotional sell. Those things, like I think that I told you, I said this furniture is not my style. It's not my thing. But for her, I'm getting rid of years of things that she saved for and wanted. And also, to people that are listening and watching right now, anybody such as myself, I got out of college. I tried to start saving my money. You begin to acquire things. And, I mean, all my life, I haven't been able to just, okay, I'm moving into a new place, I'm just going to strike a check and get everything new. I mean, if that's your point of reference, that's great. And more power to you. But I think there's more people such as myself that had to learn the art of saving. And you really appreciate things, I think, more if you have to go through a little bit of pain to get through them, a little bit of pain and sacrifice. And so I just know myself how I feel about my own things. And like I've said, 20 times now, watching my mom, as I grew up, acquire her things, to this day, I feel like I've been kicked in the gut anytime that I think about it. But back to, the price point, if I was willing, hands down, to pay for the trust. And I'll shut up and you can go on now.
Thanks for your kind words, Kathy. And when Kathy says pay for it, it was like she didn't have to reach in her pocket. She didn't have to write me a check.
Right.
We wrote her a check. It was just
Sorry.
the commission. No, that's okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go down all these questions, but the tips are there if people want to, find out what they need to do, because they've never done it before. And like I said, people approach me and they say, I've never done this before. And I get it. Doing it once in a lifetime is too many. It's too much.
Bryan, you provide us with a lot of really great information today. We're actually at the end of our show, but for people who would like to reach out, they want to contact you and they can't read the banner, what's the best way to reach out, and who would you like to contact you?
Info@easydownsizing.com is our email address, and that's the easiest way to contact us. There's a number there. You can call us on the telephone number. It's also a textable number. So email address is the best way. And anybody who's in a position that Kathy may have been in, where you have a loved one's assets that you need to transparently sell. When I say transparently, when we put it online, you see a picture of it, a description, and you get to see exactly what it sold for. So that's why I like this process as well. Or people who are just downsizing. Sometimes people are, they're willing to go south, and, they're not taking all their stuff with them. They bought a condo in Florida. It's already furnished. So family's taking the things they want, and they just don't know what to do to get rid of the things that are remaining. Those are great referrals for us as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And for anyone who's watching, please do reach out to Bryan. Kathy just gave great testimonial about what it's like to work with him. So you're hearing it live here, that he is the real deal, very trustworthy and very authentic and genuine. So thank you, Bryan, for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Bryan, so much.
Bryan. Take care.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing your story, and again, for just being so transparent. How can people reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Well, again, anyone that needs perhaps a live-in caregiver for their loved one, feel free to reach out, 703-402-1172. And if anyone needs to talk with me any further about the prospects of working with Bryan and Easy Downsizing, please don't hesitate. But I can save you some time. He's fantastic, great communicator. You will never feel weird about the entire process.
All right. Thank you so much, Kathy. I look forward to seeing you very shortly on our next show, What's Trending.
See you there.
See you. Bye. And thank you, as always, to each and every one of you. I say this and I have to keep saying it over and over again. My heart is so warm and full when I see how our numbers are increasing across all of our platforms. We are a global platform. We have 39 team members and 29 shows. If you'd like to join us, we have so many opportunities in different categories, whether it's hosting your own show, co-hosting a show with me, being part of one of our panel shows, being one of our expert presenters on Talking Heads, joining our elevated listening team. And maybe you have a great idea that I haven't thought of so far. So please do reach out to me. You can find me on either one of my websites, which are usaglobaltv.com and also drjacalyn.com. Coming very soon, I've been working on it behind the scenes, our new magazine website, which is the Global postmagazine.com, where we'll feature our guests such as Bryan, and we'll feature you maybe when you're here on our show. And also our new website that's coming, that's going to showcase all of our elevated listeners, people who have become certified in the power of listening. And that website is theelevatedlisteners.com. Coming soon. There's only one of me and I'm getting to all of it. So I'm super excited as we continue to grow. So thank you again. Please go to our YouTube channel, which is usaglobaltv.com, and subscribe. We'd love to have you. Follow us and also give us your feedback and join us as a guest. Thanks again. We'll be back in less than 15 minutes.